Meta just started rolling out Horizon OS 2.1 last week, and at first glance it might be confusing. It doesn't look like a huge update, mostly refinements, but here's what makes the timing interesting. A few weeks ago, version 85 hit the public test channel. That was the first major update after Meta announced it was restructuring Reality Labs and shifting more focus towards AI and smart glasses. And just days ago, Andrew Bosworth addressed the layoffs and made it clear that Meta is still committed to VR and that new Quest hardware is still on the roadmap. Now, this isn't a Quest 4 update, but when you look at what's changing, it feels deliberate. Meta is removing things, simplifying things, making the system feel more spatial and grounded. And yes, there's a new experimental feature that turns your desk into part of the interface. On its own, none of this is dramatic, but together it might tell us where Quest is heading next. So let's break down what actually changed and why this update feels more important than it first appears. I'm Cas, I've been deep in VR for 9 years. If you want nerdy takes on where this tech is going, subscribe and join me beyond reality. So first, let's zoom out. Some of these changes started with version 85 a few weeks ago, and now they're continuing with Horizon OS 2.1. And what stands out to me isn't what Meta is adding, it's what they're removing. Horizon Feed is being sunset inside VR, Worlds is no longer sitting in your system bar and has been moved into the library, Navigator is becoming the default way you move through the system, and honestly, I think that's a good thing. For a while, when you put on the headset, it felt like you were stepping into another social feed first and the VR system second, something we didn't ask for. It just felt pushed, and personally, I never loved that. When I put on a headset, I usually want to launch something, not scroll. Now I think Quest will feel less like a social platform competing for attention and more like a device focused on what you actually want to do, play a little bit more. Just feels more like a VR operating system now, and honestly, that alone makes the headset feel more grown up. Even the new versioning reflects that shift. Before we had updates like version 84, 85, those numbers didn't really mean much, but now it's Horizon OS 2.0, 2.1, 2.167, and so on. Big numbers change usually means bigger updates, smaller number change means refinements. It makes it easier to tell the difference, and it makes a platform feel more structured. So what else changed is that Navigator itself has a cleaner layout. The ongoing activities has been cleaned up, and those activities and notifications will now stay visible in your view to view, and you can even choose where they appear. Battery and Wi-Fi are now visible next to the clock at the top. There are also updates to how windows behave. They can snap to nearby walls and rescale smoothly as you move them, so placement feels more predictable and intentional. Now, I haven't received every part of this rollout yet, so I can't fully test all of it, but I think the direction is clear. There's less floating UI and more spatial awareness. It feels like the interface is starting to respect your room instead of just layering panels on top of it. So instead of things hovering randomly in space, they behave more like real screens in your environment, which has been the plan all along, remember? It's just been so slow with all the focus on Horizon. And that leads into what I think is the most interesting experiment in this entire update, something that literally turns your desk into part of the interface. But first, a big thanks to this part sponsor, KIWI Design. They've launched a new lightweight flexible strap, the K4 Flex. What makes it different is that it combines soft straps with an elite style head cup. Most elite straps are rigid, so when you lean back to watch a movie in VR, you feel that hard plastic pressing into your head. Not ideal. The K4 Flex has a 40% wider back support made of TPU and memory foam, so it's flat and cushioned. I can just lean back and relax. Adjustment is simple, no plastic dial, just a pull and stick Velcro strap. So it takes seconds and it fits different head sizes easily, comfortably, even kids. It's also very portable. It rolls up small enough to fit a jacket pocket since it folds up like a hot dog. Try that with the rigid strap. So I paired it with their P5000 power system, which includes 2 lightweight 5000 mAh magnetic power banks. One powers the headset or other gadgets while the other charges on the dock, and when it runs slow, I just swap them. I really love their newest stuff. It's just so practical, so check it out using the links below. Now, the most interesting experiment that started rolling out with V85 is the Surface keyboard and touchpad. You can opt into an experimental mode that basically turns your desk into a virtual keyboard and trackpad. After a quick calibration, a virtual overlay appears on your table and you can start typing directly on the surface. The keyboard layout is basic, but it works, and the touchpad supports simple index finger gestures, so you can move the cursor, tap to click, double tap and drag, and even scroll using 2 fingers. So it's not just typing, you get like a full cursor control on your desk. Typing in VR has just never been great. Floating keyboards are awkward, controllers aren't ideal, and with this, you're just resting your hand on something real instead of air tapping in space. And I'll be honest, I was surprised by how well it works. I type with 10 fingers without looking at the keyboard, and even then it tracks surprisingly well. I genuinely didn't expect the headset to keep up with my finger movements while I'm looking up instead of at my hands. That said, without real key feedback, it can be hard to know exactly which key you're pressing, so this is definitely not for writing books. I mean, a physical keyboard is still better for serious work, but for browsing or quick replies, it's surprisingly usable. And what makes it interesting isn't that it replaces your laptop, but it's that it makes your physical space part of the system. So your desk becomes part of the interface, and that's a small shift, but an important one. A couple of years ago, this would have felt completely futuristic. Now, it's just an experimental toggle in settings. And just imagine if Meta eventually combines something like this with their neural band, that would be incredibly powerful. That's not what this is yet, but you can start to see the direction. There are also a bunch of smaller improvements layered in as well. You can now anchor the browser directly in your virtual home space for easy access. You can search for Xbox games straight from system search, even if you don't have the Xbox app installed. You can hide your hands when you don't need them, the virtual ones, not your real ones. The action button on Quest 3S is now customizable, and voice control lets you navigate 2D panels hands-free if you enable it. On the security side, the media sharing is more granular. There's a clear privacy indicator when your mic, camera, or location are in use. Apps are scanned locally for malware during installation, and passkey support makes logging into sites more smoother and more secure. None of these are headline features, but together they nudge Quest in a clearer direction. Now, look at the timing. Meta's Reality Labs had a rough stretch. Over $6 billion lost last quarter, around 1,500 layoffs. So from the outside, it didn't exactly scream confidence in VR. Even though Palmer Luckey called the idea of Meta abandoning VR obviously false, some of Meta's own moves made people question where things are heading. Boss was asked directly about the doom and gloom, and he acknowledged the sadness. Teams were working on things they genuinely cared about, whether at the OS level or in game studios. That kind of loss is real. But he also made it clear that Meta is still committed to VR. So yes, it's been a roller coaster, but recently the signals feel more constructive. Horizon OS is being cleaned up, thank goodness. Surface keyboard actually works. A lightweight headset with a compute puck has leaked, and Boss confirmed new hardware is still on the roadmap and that they will keep learning from competitors like SteamFrame. That matters. If new devices are coming, the operating system has to mature first. You don't launch next generation hardware on top of messy interface. So to me, this doesn't feel like a dramatic reset. It feels like preparation. Preparation for whatever the next generation of Quest is going to be. Horizon OS 2.1 isn't trying to impress you, it's trying to mature. I like that the interface is getting simpler and more spatial and less cluttered. It feels like it's just focusing you instead of wanting to grab your attention away. And importantly, none of this replaces gaming, it just makes the platform stronger underneath it. So to me, the direction is pretty clear. Quest is moving away from being a social experiment and more toward being a proper spatial operating system. That's the shift I was talking about at the start. And I also think VR right now feels like the place where where these ideas get tested and refined first. Headsets just have the power, the battery, the sensors to experiment. AR and smart glasses just don't have that yet. So for now, this kind of progress happens in VR, and that prepares for whatever comes next. Maybe it will be a combination of everything in one device. And I think this update fits right into that pattern. But I'm curious what you think as well. So let me know below and hit like if you thought this was interesting. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you on the other side of the lens.